Hey! Nice to see you, and thank you. My wife did cut my hair yesterday. You were told to solo over Dave Brubeck's Unsquared Dance, right? It's just the blues. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just the blues and 7. So you can just resort to just being real bluesy on it. You don't have to do anything real complicated, and don't let the odd time signature also throw you off as well. What you can do is just kind of limit down the amount of stuff that you want to play. Like what I'm doing here, like I've established that, okay, I'm playing over a blues, right? And sure, it's in 7, but I don't necessarily need to be so like caught up in going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 in trying to do that. No, just like a big thing is, yes, you want to naturally feel 7, right? But when you're taking a solo, there should be other instruments, the drums or piano or guitar or whatever, who are playing that rhythm underneath you, supporting you, because now you're the soloist, right? That's the thing. And so you can kind of freely just take your time. Don't fill up all the space either, right? Then, you know, you can do some outside stuff. The other suggestion too is that you don't always need to take a solo too, right? That's the that's the other thing, is that you don't need to. There is a third option though. So obviously, you know, you've got this, you know, essentially this rhythm here. You can do something with the bass line. You know, you can definitely do something like that. So there's three things there, but I'd say, like, if you're wanting to approach it, to shed over it, definitely look at it from a very more simplistic standpoint, instead of trying to think of like all these different scales and you know, harmonic concepts that could do it. No, just play the blues, because that's what it is. It's a blues, right? So just take your time with that. So I hope that's helpful. Wackabass, nice to see you. Do you know Got a Match? I do, and I've been shedding it recently. So nice. You learnt the head, trying to get it up to speed, but beyond that, how to practice the tune. Yeah, so that's a tune where, like, it's all about reps, right? It's all about just repetition, in terms of especially getting it up to speed, right? This is one that definitely took me a while. I remember asking Patitucci, like, how many times do you think you play that tune? He said he's like too many, but in a good way. Obviously, he says he loves that, and he spent a lot of time shedding this tune when he first, when Chick first introduced it, or first wrote it, and especially you've heard a lot of live recordings. They could just burn it like crazy. They play it so fast. So it's definitely something of repetition. It's one of those where you have to do it enough times. And in the case with Patitucci, because they were playing live so much, and he was practicing so much as well. So of course he had that under his fingers, and he could literally do it on command. He said later on, it's not so much, just because Electric Band wasn't playing like they were back in the 80s and early 90s. But that's just what it is. And actually, for the longest time, for a number of years, I was playing it wrong as well, so which is pretty funny. I was like, oh, and then I looked at the chart and I was like, oh, whoops. And then I've been learning that one, the soli for it. Which is a whole other mess in itself. It is amazing, and that line is not usually in the standard real book chart, is what I found. Usually it's just the main head. So I had to kind of do some digging and find that other line, as well as do a bit of transcribing just to kind of figure out how that went. But because I think that's still that's a huge part of that tune as well. And there's that story of the three of them, Chick, Weckl, and Patitucci. They were on their way to a gig in San Francisco, and they were flying from LA, and that's usually like a less than an hour flight. And Patitucci was sitting next to Chick on the plane, and Chick just pulled out this manuscript book and just started writing stuff. And Patitucci was like, "What's that for?" And Chick said, "Oh, you'll see." Oh, and did he see? All right. Oh, crazy. Faster. I'm still kind of warming up here, so definitely not going to be able to get it at peak speed. But I've played this tune many times on a lot of gigs, and we would absolutely burn it. We would get it up to Electric Band speed. Wasn't easy, but when everything was feeling good, and it had to be it was one of those tunes where it had to be everyone right in the right time during the set, where you weren't to the point where you weren't warmed up enough, and then also where it's where you're not too fatigued. It had to be just kind of right, Say I gotta get it up. On on the original Electric Band recording, it's not that crazy fast. It's not too. I mean, they would get it even faster playing live, you know. But that one. There's a few different ways, and I want to ask Patitucci particularly how he does this, but how I've always done it was, right? But there's also, you know, I'm not there as yet. I gotta warm up more, and I gotta have the caffeine kick in some more as well. So I'm gonna play some other stuff for right now. You don't have the sixth string, so you gotta play it higher up, yeah. So how do I configure the amp's frequencies for tone? Do you adjust the frequencies on the amp or keep it level and use other means? So I tune the amp to the room that I'm playing in. So there's no thing of like, okay, secret settings. No, that's not a thing. Especially for bass. It might be different for on a guitar in terms of getting a certain like natural overdrive tone, but on bass, because we're dealing with a lot of low frequencies, so I'm tuning to the room. That's what I'm doing. And right now I've got everything more or less flat. I might have the bass kind of just bumped a little. And that was probably because earlier, or the other day, or yesterday, I was playing one of my passive basses, and I just added a little bottom to it. Yeah, I'm tuning to how the room sounds. I know what my bass is supposed to sound like, and so I'll use a process of subtraction, right? I don't always want to add in too much of anything, like too much boominess, too much treble, too much mids. And sometimes it can be hard when there is some slapback going on in a room as well. That's the other thing. So, how can you read a room? Well, in terms of, figuring that out, reading a room, it's taken a while to be able to do that, because I would always have my kind of go-to settings, and I thought, well, that would just work anywhere I go, which is not true. So the common thing to do is you set things flat, and whatever room that you're in, and also there's going to be so many different variables that you have to take into consideration. The type of cabinet that you're using, whether the cabinet is raised up on something or is on the ground, whether it's close against a wall, whether it's in the corner, right? Things like that. If you're playing on a hollow stage, if you're playing in a room that is carpeted, or if you're playing something that has so many reflective surfaces, this affects so many things, right? And usually it's how it's been for me is like, okay, when I play in a room, I'm listening first. Okay, what is there too much of in the bass sound? Is there too much treble? Is there too much bass? And I'll reduce things that way on the amp. All right. Is there too much mids going on? That is not usually there when I'm playing in another place that I'm used to. So I'll do that, as well as, then you gotta also tune it to the ensemble that you're playing in, right? And also for the volume level too. It's something that just takes some practice and trial and error of being able to do. And for my thing is that I would get so hung up on really complicated EQs that were on amps, something that had like these parametric EQs on the, like some of those Eden amplifiers, or even the older like SWRs. They had all these fine-tuning things, and for someone who doesn't, as great as those amps sounded, right, especially the SWRs and the Edens, but for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, though, that whole thing can turn into a train wreck, right? Because you gotta understand how those things work. And I was like that. I'd just be fiddling knobs until trying to get something that sounds good, but that a lot of those amps don't necessarily do a lot of that. So what I prefer is something that is way more simple, right? Bass, mid, treble. And usually with the mid, I like to have some sort of frequency selector, like a sweepable mid. Whether I need to change, if there's too much higher mids going on, I can kind of get into that frequency and reduce it if I need to. Sometimes I might need to increase something, but just be aware, if I've needed to increase something, I usually turn up the volume on the amp, because that's also going to change the sound, the tone, right? And I do like to have a lot of headroom available. And so when you have a lot of headroom available, it's better to bring the EQs down a bit. That way you don't overload your power amp. Also, you'll get a better consistency. So it's not a thing of like cranking up the bass knob on your amp, because that can actually overwhelm your amp. And so for like bars and live rooms like that, just start it at flat. The important thing is to know what your bass is supposed to sound like. That's the important part, and that was something that took me a while to kind of figure out. But what is my bass supposed to sound like? I think that's what everyone needs to kind of figure out in order to get their sound, and also know how to dial in a sound, whether it's in the studio when you're mixing, or whether you're playing somewhere or playing on an amplifier that you've never used before. So that's the thing. That's why I think when I started playing the groove line basses, which are definitely more based on a traditional instrument, it's something that is easy to dial in, and it's not complicated. There is an EQ on here, 3-band, and it's pretty easy to use, but tone is a huge thing. And sure, there's getting a good tone with the bass by itself, but then that tone needs to be able to blend in with the band, right? That's the thing. It needs to actually not be stepping on other instruments. It needs to be able to still hold its own, not get buried, and not be overwhelmed. So that's the other part that is really that can be kind of overwhelming. The thing I used to do, and a lot of younger players would do, is that we would turn the mids all the way up because we're trying to like cut through or have this kind of punch, but it actually will sometimes have the opposite effect. When I see like videos even like of myself playing from the past, and I can hear there's a lot of mids going on, like and it's not even back pickup. This might be with both pickups on, but it like doesn't blend well with the rest of the band. It doesn't. You can still get a nice punch, a nice punchy sound even with just a flat, mid setting as well. And that's what I typically do on this bass. I only raise the mids only a little or accordingly for if I'm taking a solo. But if I'm playing just bass, let me turn off the effects. because it's supposed to be an element that fits in. It's not to be like so poking out. And also that this also is a thing. Sometimes you might be playing too hard, right? I definitely was, but I found I got the best tone and the sound I wanted when I didn't play too hard and I had things kind of a little more flat, and then I would either reduce or bump on the amp as I needed. And then the EQ on my bass, I use that for musical reasons, right? So if I want to do, like I was saying, playing just bass, but then when I'm soloing, then I'll add some more mids. That's what I'd be doing. So I hope that's helpful. Hey Jess Quayle, nice to see you. And if you just joined on, welcome. This is Livestream number 39. Nice to see you all on here. And I've just been, already we've talked about how to play over Dave Brubeck's Unsquared Dance, playing a blues in 7, how to play over Got a Match, talking about dialing in your frequencies and tone for different rooms. So we've already been getting into some cool bass stuff. So if you got any questions, just throw it down in the chat. And I'll see what I can do to help you. But even if you just want like my opinion on something and from my experience and expertise, I'm always glad to help. This is what Bass with Benjamin is all about. And of course, we gotta give a shout out to the granddaddy, Mr. Anthony Jackson, who is very missed, and that was a hard one. That was a hard one for a lot of us. But someone who has essentially played bass at the very highest level, and has some of the most memorable bass lines and playing style that we'll hear. And of course, he came up with this thing, the 6-string electric bass, the 6-string contrabass guitar. So rest in peace to the Grandmaster, Mr. Anthony Jackson. We love you. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. That's cool, Jess. You got your senior musician of the school for 2nd year. Congratulations! Nice. Senior musician for the school for 2nd year. Nice. That's good. That's so cool. And with an Ibanez bass too, right? Hey, nice to see you again, Mazuka Kai. Just watched Anthony do a speech honoring Steve Gadd. Yeah, that's a beautiful. That's a really nice speech that he did. Anytime that I get to see Anthony like speak on something, it's just so amazing. And there's not many of those on YouTube. There's not many interviews. One of my favorite ones is the one that he did many years ago with great drummer Cliff Armand. They were playing together in Tokyo, and Cliff usually does like a podcast lesson for, I guess, his students. And he thought, well, since I'm with Anthony, let me do a little thing with Anthony, get his perspective on drumming and just his approach. And it's incredible. So it's up on YouTube. And, he just recorded this while they were eating dinner, like backstage before a show. And Cliff Armand is an incredible drummer, like absolutely just ridiculous. Him and Anthony sounded great together, especially on the Michel Camilo big band stuff. Woo. That stuff is just some of the finest Anthony Jackson playing that you'll hear. Apart from all the other stuff that he's done with like Shaka Khan or like Steve Kuhn or with Al Di Meola. I mean, like with Lee Ritenour, like so many incredible things. I got to meet Anthony once. It was in 2014 at the NAMM show. I had a week before I had just played with Lee Ritenour for the first time in Tahiti, and so the next week, that weekend, it was NAMM weekend, and so of course, I was gonna be there. Earlier in the day, I had walked past the Federa booth, and Anthony was there, and there was crowds of people, getting pictures of him, signing autographs, and chatting with him. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of busy right now. I hope I get to, meet him or something, so at least say hi to him. And so I was just walking around, and I came back past the Federa booth, and there was just a moment there where there was barely anyone there, and Anthony was just sitting there, just kind of watching people. And so I was like, oh, now's my chance. So I walk up to him and I say, oh, hi, Mr. Jackson. And he kind of just looks up at me. I say, oh, my name is Benjamin. I'm a bass player, and I'm absolutely you're a huge influence on me. And he's just still staring at me. And I thought, okay, well, maybe let me just name drop for a second. I said, I'm actually going to be playing with your good friend Mr. Lee Ritenour tonight at the Yamaha Guitar Night, and Patrice Rushen is playing keyboards, and Sonny Emery is on drums. So I'm really excited for that. And and he had this big grin on his face, and he put out his hand. He's like, "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, young man." And I was just totally like, "Oh my god!" And so we talked. We had a nice little chat. I told him, I said, I play 6-string bass, and thank you for inventing this instrument. This is how it should have been from the beginning. I totally agree with you. And he said, well, let's just keep that between us. But, thank you, and please say, please say hello to Lee and Patrice and Sonny. They're dear friends of mine. And I said, I absolutely will. I will. So thank you so much. And that was it, right? I never got to see him play live, but just being able to just meet him and just have that moment with him was very inspiring for me. It was a big deal, and it definitely helped, that night going on stage to play with, to play with Lee, and that was my first time playing with Patrice Russian as well, which I was totally pumped about, and also with Sonny Emery, an incredible drummer. And actually, funny story about how I ended up playing that gig. So obviously, like I mentioned, I was playing with Lee the week before in Tahiti, and so since this was a Yamaha guitar night, Lee is endorsed with Yamaha. At that time he was, he probably still is, and Patrice was endorsed with Yamaha, Sonny Emery was endorsed with Yamaha, and originally they were supposed to have Abraham Laboriel play bass, who's another incredible bassist, bass legend, that has worked a lot with Lee. So, and he's a Yamaha endorsing artist, and so there was, I guess, a miscommunication. Lee thought that the people at Yamaha were asking Abraham to play the show, and vice versa. The Yamaha people thought Lee had asked Abraham to play the show. And so, of course, like 2 or 1 day before, either person were just like, hey, have you heard, are we cool with Abraham playing? Are we cool with Abraham playing the show? And like, oh, I thought you asked him. No, I thought you asked him. So it was just like, oh my God. And so Lee was just like, Ben, can you play with us? And I said, oh, absolutely. And because obviously I had just played with Lee the week before, so I knew the tunes, and it was going to be a shorter set anyway. So it just fell into place, right? It worked out, and it was such a great experience, and I was just totally over the moon. That was a moment there where I was like, wow, I'm doing it. That was one of those moments right there. To just be on stage and hanging. And I mean, there were lots of people there at this show. Before me was another group, and it had Stu Ham playing bass. And so that was my first time meeting Stu, and I actually used his bass rig for the show. It was like it was a hockey bass rig. Just, it's not my bass rig, but that one in particular, for some reason, sounded great. I don't know if it was, his kind of special one, but yeah, that was also the night I met Victor Wooden as well. He was there at the show, and he came up afterwards, and he was super nice, and he was like, man, I absolutely love your playing. So great to meet you. And of course, I was just like, ah! And also that's where I met Mr. Mark Wright from AccuGroove. That's where that started. So from then on is when I started with AccuGroove. So that was quite a day for me, getting to meet Anthony Jackson, playing with these monstrous musicians, and getting to meet Victor Wooden, and starting this relationship with AccuGroove. And, getting to meet Stu Ham as well. That was cool. So yeah, I just loved it. So the only guy I met where I got excitedly nervous was Robert Fripp. Wonderful man. Yeah, wow. That must have been a trip. Yeah, Robert Fripp. I absolutely love Robert, his playing, and also his just unique style. And I mean, I love King Crimson as well, but yeah, definitely Robert was something that he's just a force of nature. Oh. But definitely, when I got to meet Stanley Clark, Patitucci, those were definitely big ones for me, for sure. Especially with Stanley Clark being a huge influence on my playing. And the first time I met him was actually at his house, which was really cool. And with Patitucci, he came to a gig that I was playing. I was playing with John Beasley and Monkestra. It was in New York at a really great club that's no longer around anymore called the Jazz Standard. They had really great barbecue there as well. So like the band's dinner would be like barbecue ribs and all that. It was amazing, man. I loved it. Yeah. But that was the first time I met Patitucci. And yeah, and then again when he would come out to LA, I was playing a gig, he came and hung out, and I got him to sit in as well. Might end up changing the strings on this bass. That's nice, but it does have a nice kind of, it's definitely been played in quite a bit. So, but I might, yeah, they're just a little dead, so I might end up changing them at some point. So I definitely love the kind of fresh string vibe, especially on the 6 strings. There's definitely a nice, and then they do last quite a while. So yeah. That's right. I remember you saying some time ago you'd met Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. Yeah, I bet that would have been. I mean, that's a bass legend right there. And the strings I use are the DR high beams. That's my that's my go-to for that. The strings, DR high beams on the 6 strings. So yeah, take them rib bones to your fingers and do the Tony Levin thing. Yeah, absolutely, right. the funk fingers, amazing. That's so cool how he came up with that. And still uses that to this day. And on that Rick Beato interview, it's really cool how he goes in depth of how he developed that, and just how he does it too. It's so cool. Really, I always wondered. I'm just like, oh, is he just taped just some regular drumsticks? But no, there was obviously a whole thing to it. So Tony Levin, I absolutely love his playing. Incredible, and seems like such a cool guy as well. You know. Hipster Nagariman, how you doing? And thanks for joining on. Yeah, I'll definitely play some tunes that AJ played. I'll play one for sure. and maybe some other ones that I got to play with Rittenhour that AJ had played on. Let's see what I have here. But yeah, definitely can do that. And that's the thing. It's like um, listening to AJ's playing. It's just it's school. It's school. That's what it is to me. In so many ways, it's shaped my playing or how I approach certain things and how I listen. Not just like, okay, the use of chords and like using the muting and all that, but like even just the whole thing of like when to push, when to kind of come back, utilizing dynamics, the cutoff of a note, um, how to make something so like even just a note, one note, just still feel good, right? Without having to fill up the space. There's so many little nuances that is in Anthony's playing that just made it all so special, apart from the obvious things, right? That he's definitely known for. There's just so much more, and it really shows you just like how, like what he was figuring out, right? Because he was like this, he's kind of like this, like, the scientist as well. But but in his playing, it would just feel so natural and so soulful and just absolutely like, just like no other. That's the crazy thing about it. So let me pull up my thing here. Jess is saying I got a bunch of different strings, so just trying them all whenever you need to replace strings to see which ones. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to when you're going through strings. You just got to try stuff that works for you. Everyone has a different idea, and there's so many great strings out there. And I've tried so many strings. I really have. And when I landed with DR, it gave me that moment of like, oh wow, this is actually something that I've been looking for in many aspects. In terms of the feel, the sound, the tension, and then even with dealing with the company. I mean, I know the artist rep, from before. He used to work for another company, and so that was also another thing of just dealing with them, and also the way that they're manufactured, that they're constructed, is very high quality. So that's why I was like, yeah, you know what, this is the string for me. You got to find something that gives you joy. Just like when you find an instrument, you find your instrument. It allows you to play the music that you want to play. It allows you to be who you want on the instrument, and it inspires you to play. Then that's the thing for you. It should go for any piece of equipment that you use. Anything, pedals, amps, even a cable. Why not? Strings, whatever. And so these are the strings. So the DR high beams, and these are the 30s to 130. So absolutely incredible. All right, let's play a tune here. Little tribute to Anthony. Of course, I'm gonna play a Shaka Khan tune because that's just what you do. At least for me, I love this one in particular. Let me pull it up. And if you got any bass questions, anything to do with bass playing, concepts, gear, techniques, or anything, put it down in the chat. And while I'm bringing up this tune, also let me remind you that down in the description, first of all, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, I'm finally at 2,000 subscribers, so thank you for helping me get over the line. That's exciting, a new achievement, accomplishment. And also down in the description box, the links to my bass resources, so courses, if you want to get a one-on-one lesson with me, so a 30-minute or 60-minute lesson. Right now I have a limited time offer on the 60-minute lessons, and we can do anything in the lesson, anything that you might be stuck on, any bass topic. If you want some advice on stuff, if you want to just play for me and get some feedback. That's what these, I call them straight to the point lessons, because we get straight to the point. There's no just fluffing around. Okay, what is it that you're working on? What are you trying to figure out? How can I help you? All right, let's for the next 30 or 60 minutes, let's figure that out. That's the point in it. So if you want to book that, you can. The link is down below. If you want a more involved situation where that is one-on-one and has a more longer duration, where I help you set goals and I hold you accountable to these goals and even put out a whole roadmap for you, and you get constant feedback, you can join my bass coaching and mentoring program. And this is a program I have a lot of students from around the world in this program. It's a lot of fun just seeing these wonderful bassists. And this is all levels. You don't have to be a professional bassist. I have a few students that are total beginners that are learning the bass right just from the beginning. And it's great. And then I have some students who are, working professionals. And everyone has a different goal and vision in mind. And I'm here to help them and to mentor them. So if that's something that might be for you, there's a link down below. You can set up a free chat with me, and you can tell me your problems and how my program can help you with that. All right. I'm taking on some more students. So if you'd like to join that, please do. I'd love to help you on your bass journey. This is what Bass with Benjamin is all about. So down below are all the links, courses, lessons, coaching program, you name it. So let's play some music. I'm going to play Shaka Khan's What You Gonna Do For Me? What you gonna do for me? So let's have a go.
I
what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Oh, what was that at the end? With a tune like that, so there's a live version, 1981, live at the Roxy, with Anthony playing that with Shaka. And the thing I noticed, especially at the beginning, after the intro, before it goes into the verse, the most obvious thing for a lot of us bass players that we would do is we would slide into it. He didn't do that. It was literally, here, I'll just play what he would be playing. That was one of the most, this is what I'm talking about. This is one of the most important things that I learned, okay? Not only he got the note cut off right, but he also exercised self-control. He could have just gone, no, he didn't, because he knew that was not something to do right then, in that moment. And it just made that space, that gap, so important. A nice breath of fresh air to go into that next section. Space. Exactly, Mazuka Kai. Space. Anthony knew how to use space. He knew he was a master of space. All right? The final frontier. And that's something that I learned, and it was so important. It's like, not everything needs to be played. Not everything needs to be filled up. There doesn't need to be a slide into everything. And the way that he cut off as well, boom, 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 4. He cuts off on beat 4, because the drums, plays a snare hit on beat 4 before going into the verse. That's deep. That's deep. These are things that really contribute to the overall picture of so many things. And when I was really noticing that, like things like that, this is something I would take into consideration for anything that I would play, especially in a studio where space, even everything is so exposed, but space is very important, right? Because it's obviously about the full sonic listening picture. And it's about, knowing when to do stuff and when not to do stuff. And Anthony could really do that. Any albums that influenced my playing from AJ? Yeah, I mean, that album, Shaka Khan, Naughty. And that's an album that Anthony claims is his best recorded album. He got to do it the way that he wanted it. He actually got to he had recorded his bass parts originally with the full band, and then they were delaying the release of the album to do something or whatever, and because of that, they let Anthony re-record his bass parts, and so they gave him, like, I guess the tapes, and at home he would be playing or whatever and just really honing in his part, and he would listen to demos of it in his car and be like, okay, what is that, like, how can I do this? And then eventually when he went to go in and overdub his parts, he got it. And it's some of the greatest bass recorded material in history. So there's that. Of course, some of his playing on, Dave Weckl's first album, Master Plan, incredible. Yes, Al Di Meola's Casino, that's another one. Michel Camilo, big band, incredible. Just some of the incredible stuff. The first time I discovered AJ was Lee Ritenour live at the Coconut Grove. I think when we first got our first ever DVD player, that was the first DVD that we got, and I was like, whoa, who is this cat playing this giant bass? And he is like secretly, he doesn't take a bass solo at all on the whole concert, but behind there, back then, he is playing some stuff, and I was just like, wow. I'm gonna play a tune that I've played it here on the live stream before, but I'm going to play a tune that I got to play with Lee Ritenour that Anthony played quite a lot, and this was with Lee. I got to play this with Lee Ritenour and Dave Grusin. I'm gonna play it because this was definitely when I played this live. I would play Anthony's bass line that he would do on this, just because it was the only way I could hear this tune. The original recording, I think, was Abraham Laborio. It was either Abraham or it was Jimmy Johnson. Any of them. I mean, those cats are incredible as well. But Anthony's thing was thing. So I'm gonna play Harlequin here and this has Yvonne Lynn's singing. So I'm gonna have another go at this. I played it a few weeks ago, but I just love this song. I'm gonna play it again.
Yvonne Lynn's.
Quem dançará, quem sairá de Arlequim, quem tocará, quem chorará, quem gemerá.
Just such a beautiful tune. Harlequin, Yvonne Lins, Dave Grusin, Lee Ritenour, and got to play that many times, and always did the always did that. And I remember asking Lee about it. I was just like, man, the stuff that Anthony does on that, like on the Live at the Coconut Grove version, is just, I mean, it's incredible. Was that something that, you know, that's just all him, right? And he's like, yeah. He said, with Anthony, you have Anthony because of what he brings to the table, and you trust absolutely everything, and you can always guarantee that he's gonna uplift the music in some special way, and it's never you don't have any doubt about any of his choices that he does. It's that kind of thing, and that's, I mean, that's huge, you know. He said that, you know, with Anthony, I was like, I've never had to, you know, say anything to him or be like, oh, Anthony, why maybe try this. Yeah, he's never had to do that, and I've heard that about Anthony as well. And so, again, it's just incredible, and we can learn from that, from everything that he's recorded, all the great things he's done. And so again, thank you, Anthony, so much for everything that you've given us. And his music, his playing will live on. Even if it was just for the creation of the 6-string bass, it's right there. Gil, nice to see you. You just had a rehearsal with your band. Nice. That sounds fun. We're just we've been talking about Anthony Jackson here, of course. I'm gonna play one more tune that he played on, that he was definitely known for. It's been a while since I've played this one. Let's see if I still remember it. But and of course, I'm going to put a bit of effect on there as well, right? So let's have a go. I know my wife in the other room is going to love this. Hey, how you doing? Appreciate you jumping on. If you've just been joining me and us here on the live stream, welcome. We've just been getting into all kinds of things, actually. We've just been talking about, like I said, Anthony Jackson, the granddaddy, the grandmaster. And before that, we were talking about playing Got a Match, tuning your bass amp to different rooms, how to solo over Dave Brubeck's Unsquared Dance, all kinds of things. So if you have any questions, anything to do with bass playing, anything, just pop it down in the chat. This is what we're here to do. We're here to nerd out. Gear, concepts, techniques, anything like that. Just throw it down in the chat. I'm going to play another tune here. Let's see if I still remember this. But I know my wife will be like, wait, what? He's playing that one? Let's see.
Every woman, it's all in me. Anything
classic. Oh man. So I'm using I use a phaser on that. I don't have a flanger, right? So I use the phaser. That's as close as I got. Um, and I'm pretty sure he was using a pick when he played that, but I don't know where my pick is. They're probably in the dryer, I bet you, at the bottom in the lint trap. That's the joke, right? But yeah, that's such a great tune. Great. I mean, Anthony Jackson and Steve Ferroni, also incredible rhythm section. Incredible, like with Shaka Khan. I mean, I tell you, cats, like that live 1981 with Shaka Khan live at the Roxy is incredible. You want to hear a great bass and drama hookup. Steve Ferroni and AJ together on that. Incredible. There's also, I mean, AJ and Steve Gadd were another one. AJ Cliff Almond, AJ Steve Jordan, right? Even with Javi Mason. I mean, so many people. Simon Phillips. He could make anyone sound great. So thank you, Anthony. Thank you. So yeah, Casa Loco, the suitcase with the crazy AJ bass part. Exactly. It really was, right? How's everyone doing? Everyone doing all right? I'm feeling good. My green tea has definitely kicked in quite a bit. I was going to that's another thing Anthony would do. Maybe next time I'll learn. I'll shed it. But there was a tune. Thanks, Wackabass. Nice to see you. Thanks for hanging. There was a tune that I used to play with Lee called Pals, and I mean it is a monster of a tune. Maybe I'll learn it for next week. But it had some crazy lines, and he specifically wrote this one for Anthony. But there is a part in there that just goes. Was it? I'll learn it for maybe next time, because I have the tune, but I haven't played it in at least 10 years. But Pals, which means practice all lines slowly. And once you hear it, you'll understand why. I'm gonna slow it down. I'm having fun just playing some tunes here. I'm gonna play a tune that I got to record with John Beasley and the Monkestra. And speaking of another influence who we also lost, D'Angelo. This was a tune that definitely. Do I have the chart? I think I got to beam it to my iPad here, which I'll do real quick. This was playing in Monkestra. I mentioned last week that it was a band where you just had to be ready to play any kind of like style, like kind of feel and vibe. That was the thing about it. And playing whether you're playing some straight ahead jazz, playing some Afro-Cuban, or you're playing Brazilian, or playing like some real kind of free-ish things, or playing some funk, and in this case playing something that had like a D'Angelo vibe to it as well, with like a monk tune and a big band. It's like, what? But that's what John Beasley was doing. I mean, he channeled a lot of his influences into these arrangements of Thelonious Monk, which was really cool. and not in a way of, especially him being John being an incredible pianist. It wasn't a thing of where, okay, he's trying to like play like Thelonious Monk on everything, and a lot of that influence is in his playing, but in these arrangements in these tunes, you also hear like the influence of like Herbie and Herbie Hancock and like Chick, Horace Silver, like a lot of elements, McCoy Tyner. And so that also influenced me when approaching any of these tunes to come from the standpoint of my influences too. And John would give me some suggestions, for certain tunes. He'd be like, yeah, kind of thinking maybe like a Ron Carter vibe here, or maybe a little more Jimmy Garrison. This one, go, do the Pino thing, which was cool. And it was a way for me to be able to utilize, my influences, the stuff that's, we've shared and we've kind of figured out and incorporated into our own playing. So this tune here, which is a really cool Monk tune called Light Blue, and this is with a, it's got this kind of D'Angelo laid back thing, and we recorded this on Monkestra Volume 2, so you can check it out. We did 3 records, Volume 1, Volume 2, and then Monkestra plays John Beasley. So check this one out. So Light Blue. That's Light Blue. That's Thelonious Monk. That's from Volume 2 of Monkestra. John Beasley plays Monkestra. That I got to record. This is probably we did this almost 10 years ago now. So yeah, a lot of fun. Always fun just kind of playing that. And on drums, that's Gene Coy playing on that track. And of course, John, you heard, he was playing keyboards and Hammond B3 organ. I can't remember who was the alto sax solo. I think that might be Bob Shepard who played. And in the trumpet, I can't remember who played the trumpet solo. I'd have to have a look. But I mean, we had incredible horn players in that band. Trumpet section was that was a stacked band. It really was. What would you say the BTB basses are good versatile basses like the ones around 800 to $1,000 is worth picking up? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think I've been seeing, especially what they've been making now. I've been seeing a lot of BTBs being used and played, so I definitely think it's worth it for sure. What I like about the BTBs is that if you do want to do any modifications to it, like switch out pickups or preamps or any of the stuff, they're really easy to do so. That's what I like about, with Ibanez basses, especially the BTBs and the sound gears, is that they seem like they're really easy, and they're designed if you want to do any modifications to it, that you can do that, which is what I really love. But I think what they're making now, the BTBs, and the fact that you have options if you wanted to have a multi-scale one, that is definitely a cool option. But the BTB, I definitely recommend for sure. And not just and I might be sounding biased because I'm an Ibanez cat, but I mean, I totally recommend the BTB just because I see a lot of people, not just rock and metal cats using them. I see a lot of R&B, jazz folks playing them as well. They have a great sound. They feel great. It's a bass that is well built and easy to use. So I totally recommend. I think it's totally worth it for sure. Now, if they were to just bring back the groove lines, that's another thing, right? Which, hey, never say never, right? I'm gonna play another Monkestra tune because playing, I had so many great, moments playing with Monkestra, and Monkestra really helped, shape me as a musician. Playing with really, top cats, but playing very challenging music was definitely a huge part of just my development of a musician and being able to hang. And this tune I'm going to play here is actually one of those. It's a tune called Skippy, and it just has all kinds of things going on to where you just have to keep up, and things fly by pretty quickly. So I'm thankful for, John Beasley for having me, be a part of Monkestra, and also we just had so many great moments. And this was also a thing where I'd be channeling the way that Anthony Jackson was playing with Michelle Camilo, big band. That kind of approach of utilizing the tunes, especially when playing on electric, and just having that drive, but also knowing when to put your foot forward and when to just kind of bring it back, So I'm going to play a tune here, Skippy. And no, I don't have a Discord channel at all. I'm not really sure what you know, how to use that or anything. So I just keep it pretty standard on here, and it's been working out for me. And I do have, if anyone is curious, and for those who use Tidal, I do have a playlist of my current discography of things that I've played on. Not everything is on there, it's just whatever is available, but I would say a good 98% of everything that I've played on, recorded, is in this playlist. So I'll copy and paste the link here. And that way you can check out any things that, and this definitely is, you know, a lot of these definitely helped me. Were part of my development, playing on these records, because a lot of them are like learning experiences. And so, yeah, check that out. As well as I have a free course that's down below. You can get in the description box. It's just my 6 tips on how to level up or skyrocket your gig opportunities, and also just kind of level up your bass playing, like make your bass lines kind of pop out more, make them more tastier. And these are tips that I've put together from my experience of lessons that I've learned, you know, some of them the hard way and all that, but I've put it together in this this free course, because this is information that should be available for everyone, right? That's not a gate-kept secret or anything. This is stuff that people should know, and it's a good thing to, if you want to know how to, what you need to do to prepare if you want to become a pro level bassist in your scene. This will give you a good insight on what to do. So check that out, and don't forget my other links down below in the description box. Courses, you want to take some lessons with me, if you want to join my bass coaching program, that's also down there. So I'm going to play Skippy, as the Aussies say. So here we go. right, that's Skippy from John Beasley and the Monkestra. That's on volume 1, and that is that's a trip to play that one. It took me a few times when I first started playing with the band. But, oh my god, what is going on? And things are just flying by so fast. That's it. Just you can't skip over anything. But yeah, oh man, there's just so many great memories playing with that band, and so much just development as an ensemble player, and just what you had to do in order to just kind of hang. And on drums on that one, that's Gary Novak playing, an incredible Gary Novak, one of the greatest drummers ever. So that's it for today, folks. I appreciate you hanging with me. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the showing up. Thanks for the eagerness. This is what I love to do. I love to help bass players and share my passion of bass and music with you all, and just connect with like-minded individuals across the world. So thank you again so much. This has been so much fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe here to my channel, because this helps get my videos into other people's feeds. And also, you'll get to be notified of any time I go live or I post anything on my channel here. So make sure you do that. Also, all the links to my bass resources are down below in the description box. Courses, you want to get a 30-minute or a 60-minute lesson with me, go ahead and book that in. I'd love to work with you and get straight to the point of what it is you're trying to figure out. Or if you want some more guidance, want a more tailored approach, get some constant feedback, you can join my bass coaching and mentoring program, where I'll help you set some goals and hold you accountable to them as well. And we'll have a lot of fun in there. So you can book all that down below. The links are there. I really appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much. And yeah, enjoy the discography there. There's some really great stuff. Some of my favorite recordings that I've had the fortune of playing on. And I'm so thankful to the people who have hired me and over the years. And it's definitely a great example of or just stuff that I'm really proud of, the work that I've done. So check it out down below. Enjoy having a listen through that. I'm just going to play a little bit before there's some exit music. Make sure you tip your wait staff and settle up your bills before leaving. Don't take all your coats and jackets, and don't leave any car keys behind. Take your reading glasses, sunglasses with you. Take your phones. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the support. Wherever you are, be safe. Have a great rest of, well, I guess the rest of Friday or Thursday, rest of the week, and have a great weekend. And I'll see you again next week. I'm now doing this twice a week. Okay, so the next one will be. I'll post it. All right, I can't off the top of my head. I can't think of the time zone. I gotta get used to it. But it's to cater for those who don't usually get to see this one because it's usually the middle of the night. So for those of you who are in Europe and across Asia, I have the other one earlier in the week. So stay tuned. All right, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Have a great rest of the day, morning or night.